I'm Kerry Brett, and this is Shot at Love. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome back astrologer, psychic healer, and spiritual advisor, Jill Jardine. She'll share her insights on the year's astrological forecast, offering tips to navigate its energy and unlock your highest potential. Whether you want to find new love, deepen your existing relationships, or have greater success, Jill will guide you to manifest all your wildest dreams. As we enter 2025, many of us reflect on the paths we've taken and the lessons we've learned and the new opportunities waiting ahead. How can we align with the year's energy to make it our most abundant and love-filled yet? Could the stars be pointing to your best year in love? You won't want to miss it, so stay tuned. Jill Jardine is a guru in astrology and spiritual healing, a dear friend and someone whose wisdom has profoundly impacted my life. She's the host of the popular podcast Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, a reverend in Sanskrit mantra, and a gifted guide who's helped people align with their inner power for over 30 years. Her insights into 2025's transformative energy will get us inspired, grounded, and ready to make this year amazing. So without further ado, welcome Jill Jardine.
Thank you, Kerry. So happy to be back on Shot at Love. And I'm so glad we're doing this podcast as we enter the changing, extraordinary year 2025.
I'm excited. You've covered what's to come during 2 episodes on Cosmic Scene, which I've listened to. And you had kept saying that it's all about transformation. Why do you feel this way?
Well, first of all, this is an unprecedented year astrologically that I can remember, probably since I've been an astrologer, which is over 30 years professionally, because we have 5 big planetary changes all in the same year, actually within the first 7 months of 2025. I'll cut that down for people, but that, just all that planetary energy shifting signs is sort of like a changing of the guard. And very simply, I think we're going to see this play out in our world as like regime changes, and not just in the United States, but all over the world. And there's a huge keynote of the sign Aquarius. Pluto is now going forward in Aquarius for the next 40 years until 2044. So that has to do with connecting with like-minded types, groups, others to achieve goals. And then we're going to have some of the 2 outer planets, Neptune in March, transit from Pisces into Aries, and Saturn in May, transit from Pisces into Aries. And Aries is more of the individual. So we're going to see individuals aligning with certain causes. But interestingly enough, despite all these planetary changes, I think there's going to be so many opportunities available to people, and there'll be choice. It's going to be a big year of choice. And I want to also reflect back to your listeners that in numerology, this is a 9-year. In numerology, we have years that go from 1 to 9. So 9 is a year of completion and endings, but it's also setting the stage and setting the tone for the next 9 years. So, and the way you get that number 9 is you add 2 and 2, 0 is 2, and 2 is 4, and 5 is 9. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. And you can actually figure out in numerology what year it will be for you, because you take the number for the month. So in your case, it would be 2. The day of your birth, 11. So 2 and 11, 2 and 1 is 3, and 1 is 4. And then you add that to the 9 year. So 4 and 9 is 13. And then 1 and 3, we always break it down to a single digit, is 4. So you're in a 4 year, which is actually a year of building structures and actually building stability. So it's going to be very interesting because we're going to have a lot of endings going on simultaneously with a lot of new beginnings. And the fact that we're going to have 2 outer planets going into Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, I mean, just for a few months and just within the first few degrees, we're going to get a precursor of what will come. Aries is the first sign of the 12 zodiacs. So we have the numerology of 9 of endings, and at the same new beginnings with the Aries signature that's going to be strong this year. A little foot dipping into the water to see what changes are coming.
Well, this year, I mean, we started off with fire at the fires in California. It's like you wake up and the world's on fire. And
right.
it just seems like it's the beginning of a new year. There was a lot of uncertainty from 2024. It was just the most uncertain year, and people were very unstabilized. So I want to set people up for a different year with the right mindset and the right intention. And even though we have a lot of endings and a lot of things that feel very out of control when
right.
we look around at the news, or
right.
So how would we set ourselves up this year for this new chapter, new beginnings?
Thank you. I'll get to that. But first of all, I want to talk about the archetype of fire. So since July 2023, we've had the north node of the moon going through the sign Aries, which is fire, south node in Libra, air. So if you look back over that year and a half, we've had a lot of fire that spread rapidly through air. Think of Lahaina, Maui. Think of also, all the wildfires in Northern California, and then most recently, the one in the Pacific Palisades in Southern California, archetype of fire. And here in this month of January 2025, that north node in Aries is leaving Aries, but it is at 1 degree to 0 degree of Aries. The nodes move backwards, and then the nodes will change into the axis of north node Pisces, water, south node Virgo, earth. So if we look at just the elemental breakdown, it's very interesting. We're transiting from fire, but that fire is not going to go away because the same degree that it's in the north node in Aries is going to be the same degree that Neptune transits into in March and Saturn transits into in the end of May. And they will all be there until the fall. This whole fire scenario is not going away, unfortunately. And I think there may be some solutions for what to do, because then the nodes of the moon, north node in Pisces, that's water. So then we're dealing with water issues and perhaps water situations such as floods and water catastrophes. Not to be Debbie Downer, but I'm just setting the scenario. And then the north node is in Virgo. So this whole water, and then Neptune and Saturn are leaving Pisces, going into Aries. So we have this whole water-fire exchange, which is steam. So very interesting elementally how this year is going to go down. We're going to really feel nature, or we're going to feel nature being contrived, whatever your view is on what goes down here. The nodes of the moon switching, this is January 11th, and then they'll stay with the north node in Pisces, south node in Virgo. I think this is actually kind of a nice axis. I think it's going to affect the health, because south node Virgo is traditional allopathic methods of healing, of health, and then Pisces is more energy healing. So we're going to see an awareness with people combining some of the traditional medicine with the more holistic forms of healing. So that's kind of exciting. And then we're going to see some technologies related to healing that might be integrated into traditional medicine, like red light therapy, far infrared light. There's been a lot of light healing around for a while, as well as other technologies that have to do with vibration and frequency. So those might be incorporated into traditional medicine, and people might be seeking out them in maybe more holistic centers. So it's going to be a very interesting year and a half for the whole medical model. So that will be interesting. But to get back to how we can ride these waves of change, because there are going to be, it's almost like every other month there's going to be a hit. So let me just give the little backdrop. January, we have this node of the moon, or the lunar node, switching from north node Aries to north node Pisces, south node Libra to south node Virgo. So that's January. Then we flash forward to March. That's when Neptune, outer planet, it's been in the sign Pisces for approximately the last 12 years. And now it's going to go into Aries from March 30th through October 22nd. And then it will go back into Pisces. Then Saturn in May, on May 24th, is going to go into Aries, fire sign, September, May 24th to September 1st, back into Pisces, September 1st to February 14, 2026. Then Jupiter will transit into the sign Cancer in June for a whole year. So here's some more water into the mix. Cancer is a water sign. And then Uranus, the change maker, transits into Gemini from July 7th through November 7th, 2025. And then it will go back to Taurus from November to February 26th. So that's an interesting switch from Earth to air. So we've got a lot of elementals. So I think that's going to translate to weather phenomena. There's going to be a lot of crazy weather of all elements: water, fire, earth, and air. So there's that piece. So I'm not being, Debbie Downer, because there's some really cool things that are going to happen. And this is good for your listeners in dating. What is going on as we have the world changing so rapidly around us? People are really going to go within and get very clear how they want their life, how they want to live their reality. Maybe they don't want to watch the news and hear the doom and gloom or hear, catastrophic scenarios. Maybe they'll have compassion for that, but they don't need to see it, or they don't need to be engulfed in it. So they're creating their own reality, their own enclave of how to be in the world. And interesting enough, there's going to be a lot of people realizing they're on the same page. And so we're going to see it be a year of the like-minded souls, groups coming together and doing things that make them feel good.
Right. Well, I think when there's tragedy, or when you're kind of backed up against a wall, that's when you get really clear about, what am I putting focus on? Why am I giving this so much weight when ultimately it doesn't really matter?
Right. And unless, you yourself are dealing with, we all deal with personal disasters. That's life. But when it's a group situation, well, it's an opportunity for the group that's being affected by this outside, quote, disaster or earth change or disruption, whether man-made or natural. They can band together to do something about it, because perhaps the government or the structures may not be doing something fast enough, which kind of was what was happening with Lahaina, Maui, with the Maui fires, and with Asheville, North Carolina, with the floods. So there's been a little precursing that maybe the systems didn't step in fast enough, or that it was taking a long time. So the residents and the people affected had to kind of do their diligence to get some things done.
How would we try to find more of these like-minded people that we want to bring into our lives, would you say? I'm kind of interested in the trends for this year, like what the dating trends will be, because I'm not really sure. And I haven't even done any research on it. But you and I know that what you focus on, when you put your energy on, that grows. And,
right.
And you can manifest that.
Well, I have a great recent example of a client of mine. So she, single, in her late 40s, hadn't really, had a divorce several years back, hadn't really dated or wasn't having good luck with apps dating. She is a yogi, and she decided to go to another area that was about an hour away from where she lives, to go to what was an ecstatic dance event in a yoga studio, which was basically, it's kind of fun dancing, and you just, sometimes you close your eyes so people don't see you, but it's a real freedom. And they do it out in this area at Kripalu, and it's been around for a while. I used to do it with one of my husbands. It was with this teacher, Gabriel Roth, at a place called Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. So it was kind of new agey, but now it's more mainstream. So this client of mine goes, and lo and behold, she meets a guy there, and I guess she was dancing with him, and flash forward, they've been dating for over a month, and it was that shared interest. And so this is how I think relationships are going to be forged going forward. Follow your bliss, or do something you really want to do, And who cares if none of your friends want to go with you? Go because you'll meet the group of people who want to do the same thing. So I think that's keynote.
When you first started talking about this year, you're like, every month's going to be something. But isn't that life? There's never going to be this exact perfect timing when the stars line up to take action and go out and try something new or try to bring in new people or friends or relationships. So what would you say to encourage people based on the astrology of this year about dating, timing, trying something different, follow your bliss, like you said?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably break this down by each month because here we are in January 2025, and this is sort of like a sleeper of a month. It's almost like, okay, we're just blending from an 8 to a 9 year astrologically, and a lot of people, and I know a lot of healer friends of mine and sensitives are sort of going into a cocoon mode. It's really cold here in New England, so that helps us, but there's something about going very internal right now to kind of suss out the energies. So January, especially the first 3 weeks, are more of an internal time, I would say. We're in Capricorn. Traditionally a really good time for starting up business. There's a full moon on the 13th of January, which will still bring to head things around work and family. But then we get into Lunar New Year, which I always say is the time to start the new year. It's early this year on January 29th. That's when the new moon is in the sign Aquarius. So that lights up some activity, since Aquarius is a very social sign, for the month of February. So I think February is going to be excellent for socializing, communication, getting out, travel. I know a lot of people are planning on traveling. It's an air sign. So February is a really good time to jumpstart and get yourself out, and welcome to 2025, the year of the wood snake in Chinese astrology. So think about a snake. The metaphor of a snake is shedding your skin. So let go of the old and trot out the new you in February. And it's also transformation. A snake is also the metaphor for Kundalini energy in Vedic physiology, which is the life force. So find ways to raise your Kundalini, and that can be sexually, with Tantra, with yoga, or just pleasurable activities like moving your body. So I think that that's a keynote for 2025, especially starting in February. So February would be kind of a fun month because the planets are all pretty much moving direct, especially once Jupiter goes direct on the 4th, and then on the 24th, we've got Mars going direct. So February is kind of a like, get ready, get set, go month. And then we cruise until about mid-March when we get hit with Mercury retrograde, which has you reassess. That's going to be from March 15th to April 7th. And also the big keynote with the month of March is a lunar eclipse on the 14th for Virgo full moon, sun in Pisces. And then there'll be a solar eclipse March 29th in Aries. So there we go. The second half of March is sort of a, okay, reel it back, see what's going on. Let's watch what blows up in the world and see what the latest energies out there are, and then reboot and go within. Launch yourself again in April. April should be a pretty fun month because then we're dealing with Aries. There's going to be a lot of Aries energy, but Aries is a beginner's mind. Have some fun. We're going to have a full moon in Libra on the 12th of April, and then new moon in Taurus at the end. April into early, even into May, kind of fun. I think the spring will be a really active time, a lot of movement, and really the keynote is to try new things, especially with the weather getting nicer in the northern hemisphere. And then we're going to have these planets all changing guard. Like I said, we have Neptune changing in March, and then we have Saturn going into Aries in May. So there's some recalibration, but again, I think that is good for new beginnings. Try something new, try something different. The other thing about Aries, it's the opposite or polar sign to Libra, which Libra is about partnership. So a lot of people in relationships may call it quits and want to go it on their own. All this Aries energy is like me. What's good for me? What's good for me? So a lot of people are going to look at their own goals with relationship, at their own goals. And if they've had a partner or partnership that they feel has kept them back or has been too burdensome to carry forward, we're going to see probably May, when Saturn goes into Aries, and the summer, we're going to see a lot of relationships starting to dismantle while new ones come forth. We have all these planets that are changing. We also have Jupiter going into Cancer in June, which is going to be all about, who's important to me, family, emotional connection, emotional fulfillment, stability, security, all very important in a year that's going to be probably not stable or secure out there. So we have to find that within us, and we have to surround ourselves with those people who make us feel stable and secure. The time of the narcissist is gone, although they may come forth really strong with these Aries planets. And then Uranus goes into Gemini in July through November. So anything goes. And that could be kind of a wild time with Uranus and Gemini. Although, fact check the date that you're going on, because it's also a time when people will say anything and spin things the way they need to spin things. So the truth is going to be a little bit elusive, I would say, with Uranus and Gemini, both personally with, people and also in the collective.
So would your advice be just to not take things so seriously, or just be open to the unexpected?
Uranus likes air signs. Uranus does good. It is ruled by Aquarius, which is an air sign. So Uranus is probably going to have some fun in Gemini. But again, don't believe everything you hear.
Right.
I would double check your information and your information sources. So if somebody tells you that he's a millionaire and he has his own startup, and then you Google him and you realize that he's basically living with his mother and is worth, 10,000 net worth, then, that would come in handy to know things like that.
Well, that's why they need to hire you to look at their chart, pull their chart up, and see what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
That would be a good thing. How great would it be to find the love of your life? The man of your dreams. Do you believe online dating would work if you had the right tools to be successful? Well, I have exciting news. I've created your Best Shot at Love Masterclass. I cannot wait to share with you what's worked for me in my life and for many of my clients that have helped over the years. If you enroll in this class, you have a winning mindset and believe in getting help before you start something new. If you're ready to see changes in your dating life and want to take action, check out my free webinar at shotatlove.co. If you decide you're going to choose another path, that you're worth it, and you're willing to enroll in the masterclass, you can also register at shotatlove.co. I designed this masterclass specifically for you to be successful. Please know that everything you're going to learn in these 9 modules and 6 coaching calls has been carefully curated for you, so you can gain the success you truly want. I will be there for you the whole time. In the meantime, I wish you all the success, and I can't wait to hear about your story of finding love. I'm Kerry Brett, and I will be your mentor and friend through this incredible journey. As far as January goes and setting intentions and setting the stage for what you want to bring in the new year, we do a traditional puja. A lot of people make a vision book or a vision board, or they write down what they're looking for. Would you say that this is a good time to do like a Marie Kondo cleanse and do some internal work to look at maybe some emotional blocks and make space somehow with maybe emptying half your closet so that you make room for the new love interest? Like what are some things that you think you could tell as tips?
I feel like that is definitely a great idea to do in January, but it's almost like this year, it's not defined to the beginning of the year. It's not confined to the beginning of the year. So I'd say start in January, and then throughout the year, if you feel like I've got to make another shift, because what's really Pluto and Aquarius, what I have seen about it, what I saw about it last year, it's like Pluto likes to transform, but Pluto can take things away. So I always say, give it to Pluto. So get rid of stuff, make the space that way instead of having it happen to you. And I think this is like all year it's going to be like that, especially the months of January, March, May. And then we get a whole reset in the fall months because all the planets that have changed over, except for Jupiter, go back to where they were. So we're going to have like, let's try some new stuff out, especially in the spring into the summer. And then we get to look at it all in the fall and say, this worked, this didn't, this worked, this didn't. And we're preparing ourselves for the number one year, the year of new beginnings in 2026. So this is kind of a fun year of like, try it out, take it out for a spin, maybe not commit. And that could go with relationships too, but like try something different. And the thing about Gemini too, Gemini is a double sign, meaning it doesn't like one. So maybe you're dating the nice twin, and then maybe you're dating the evil twin or the shadow guy, and see like why you're attracted to the good boy and the bad boy. So Uranus in Gemini during the summer and into the fall is going to have us doing some experimentation. Uranus is an experimental sign.
I like that. I mean, it is the wild, wild west when you think about it. Dating is just so unpredictable, and you have to just kind of go for it.
Yeah, and I am seeing a trend among my clients. They're increasingly wanting to try something besides the apps.
Right.
And this is where going to events and going to social outings or going where you meet people in person or going to, like I said, an ecstatic dance party or to a concert from the 80s or something that is really playing pickleball. I mean, depending on what your age group is, this in-person contact, we've talked about this over the last year or two, but I think it's becoming much more pronounced, especially now that Pluto is fully ensconced in the sign Aquarius, which is all about group energy.
I think this is definitely has been building, that people put so much importance in networking and live events, in-person events.
Right.
I think there's never been more of a demand for it, honestly.
Right. And we're 5 years out from the start of COVID, and people realize that, you know, hey, life is too short. Let's get out there. Let's commingle. Let's circulate. Let's meet new people. Let's try something new and different. And this year in the astrology of 2025 certainly supports that attitude.
What do you think someone could do to really attract love this year?
Well, you know, everything is, as Nikola Tesla says, if you want to know the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. So raise your frequency, raise your vibration, do something that will help you be on the same level of vibration as who you desire or what kind of person you desire. So for instance, go and hear some live music that makes you feel good because you'll be buzzing from that because, you know, the instruments, music in general, and chances are you could meet someone who also is at that same vibration and likes that same kind of music. Like attracts like, as we say, or vibration attracts vibration. Or go to like a sound healing at your local yoga studio, says this gong master. Now, I wouldn't say I'm a master of the gong, but I do play the gong, and it blows people's mind because it raises your vibration. And there's certain types of yoga that people play the gong after, but sound healing is becoming more and more popular in yoga studios, holistic centers. So talk about raising frequency and vibration, go to get a sound bath. Also, you know, let's say you do want to learn how to cook gourmet. Well, that's a feel good, especially gourmet cooking or wine tasting or something that actually feels good and others are doing it with you. And then you all get to have the sample. So stuff like that, that's a feel good generally.
I do believe it's all about the vibration.
2025 is the year of frequency.
What else do you think someone could do to change their vibration if they feel they're not lucky in love? They've had it with the apps, they're in a down place, they're in a negative mindset around it. You got to shake that. You have to get out of that in order to pull in something new.
Well, the other thing that's going to happen this year is that like a lot of things will come to the surface internally, personally, collectively, or what we call the shadow in psychology. So that's not a bad thing. And, you know, snake medicine, it's going to be the year of the snake, is sometimes having to do with shadow, what's hidden. It's related to Scorpio. The serpent is one of Scorpio's totem animals. So it has to do with what's hidden, what's below the surface. So I think also doing some deep inner work, some self-work, shadow work is really in order this year, because you can see what your block actually is. You can go out and socialize and be a social butterfly and party animal, but if you haven't worked on your own shadow, chances are you might attract a similar shadow type to your own. And then it will be, a shadow party and maybe not as healthy. So I highly recommend that people do their inner work this year, because I think you're going to see result much faster. In the past, it's been maybe slugging along, but where the vibration is increasing, things are happening a lot faster. So, a little inner work can actually go a long way. But again, no spiritual bypassing. You have to actually do the psychological or health or healing or inner work to get the result.
I like that things are going to happen quickly. I kind of feel like that. This year's been intense just from the beginning of it. The energy definitely feels different this year.
Right. And we're only going by the Gregorian calendar. So when the astrological energies start kicking in, like the first new moon or new beginning of the year, is that Aquarius new moon lunar new year on January 29th. So that I always like to set intentions at that time. And I always lead groups in person. I have been doing that for years, and people love it because it actually feels like a legitimate start to the year, because it's based on the cosmos and it's based on nature, as opposed to the Gregorian calendar that was set by Pope Gregory during the Council of Nicaea in 520 AD to make people become harder workers outside. And it was just a sort of a doctrine that was imposed upon the masses. So we're really getting more in touch with the natural rhythms of the solar system, the planets, the earth, the elements. 2025 will be a year of really connecting to these natural cycles and seeing when they may be off too, within ourselves and out in the environment and in our world. So that will go a long way to helping people feel aligned and knowing when to go out and socialize and knowing when to retreat and incubate and do some inner work. This year, it's going to be very important to do that. And it's also important to find stability within, find security within, because it may look like it's not showing up out there in ways that we thought it should.
I think what you said is you feel hopeful that this year is going to be a good year, because 2024 was really tough for everyone, it seems.
Yeah, I know, especially healers, sensitive, creative types. It was a very challenging year. A lot of people in that category had at least 3 or more initiations or tests in 2024. But I noticed that, like with the healer types and the creative types, it's like, okay, that's part of the flow. But I feel that energetic of the changes and of testing is still going to go on. It's always about how you deal with it, or how you frame it, or how, if you let it take you out, it will take you out. If you look at it like, oh, this has been really difficult and this has been challenging, but I'm going to get on the other side of it. And you go through your paces and you look at, well, why is this happening? We don't have a punitive God. We don't have a punitive universe. It's how we view it.
It's how we react to it.
Exactly.
So create your own reality. Is that the theme of this episode, would you say, Jill?
I would say so, because some of the realities out there may not be to your liking, and they may be amplified craziness, or they may be amplified chaotic vibration, or they may be not feeling like they're really happening. Perhaps they're like being just amplified by media. It's going to be a very interesting time. So I think align with your own truth, align with security within, and find stability within. And weathering these changing times will just be part of the day-to-day routine.
Right. I love that. Well, you gave a lot of advice today. In closing, I think, too, if you really want to manifest love or something new, you have to visualize it and change your frequency and your vibration.
Right. And take a risk. I mean, maybe get out of your comfort zone. And this year is actually going to be very good for that, for taking risks and trying something new, perhaps unprecedented in past years, as far as like not risks that are going to be harmful to your person, but, you know, maybe getting out of your comfort zone and trying something different.
Well, thank you so much, Jill. And we'll have to have you back in the spring to see how all this is shaping up for 2025.
Thank you, Kerry. Thank you for having me back on Shot at Love. My pleasure always.
I loved having you. And for now, this week's Shot at Love dating tips that are inspired by our resident astrologer, Jill Jardine. Number 1, vibe with your tribe. Find a group of people you enjoy doing activities with. Chances are you'll meet plenty of like-minded individuals and maybe even score a date. Number 2, this year, it's all about frequency, energy, and vibration. As my friend, Law of Attraction, Michael Lozier would say, you get what you vibrate. Number 3, Jill's advice for this year is to follow the Aquarian and Uranian energies. Be experimental. Try something new and different. You won't regret it. I hope you found some of my tips helpful this week. This is what Shot at Love is here for, to help you find love. Keep up the commitment to yourself and commit to helping someone else by sharing this podcast. Stay safe and stay tuned for more episodes. And if you like this show, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. I'm Kerry Brett, and we'll see you next time.